Abstract art, it can be a bit confusing, and a few people have asked me whether I would do another tutorial on how to create some exciting abstract art. So here I am. Welcome to Friday Art with me, Cate Field, artist, teacher and speaker, and absolutely passionate about helping you find your creative spirit. So with abstract art, what we're going to do today is to break down some of those barriers that may be stopping you from even trying to create a piece of abstract art, and we're going to have a lot of fun. Are you ready? Let's go. So in this tutorial, we are going to create some shapes to create a design for an abstract piece of art. Now I'm going to be using some card. I'm going to use some black card here so that you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to move my sketchbook out of the way. And what I'm going to do on this piece of card is I'm going to just draw some fairly random shapes. And I'm going to do these freehand. I'm not really thinking about it very much. Some shapes are going to be bigger than others and some are going to cross over, and I'm just putting together some random lines that some are joining up and some might not be, and I'm just kind of making it a bit of a mess, to be honest. And that's okay, because what we're actually going to do is to look at some of these shapes and think, I wonder if some of those put together would actually look quite interesting. So as you can see, I've put lots and lots of different sorts of lines filling this page up, and then what I'm going to do is to cut out some of the areas. So I'm going to use a craft knife, and I'm not going to cut out everything, but I'm just going to cut out a few things that I think might be quite interesting. So start off with this sort of segment here. Turn that round. So again, I'm not kind of thinking about it too much. I'm going to keep each piece because I'll be using those later. I'm going to put that to one side, and I'm going to think about the other pieces that I want to cut out, like this. I'm using cardstock just because it's a little bit more robust, but you could use a sheet of paper and a pair of scissors. Yeah, you could do that. Just pop that there. Make sure that you keep your non-dominant hand out of the way. Don't want any nasty accidents in my art class. Let's make that bit there. Sort of, oh, and yeah, that's fine. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. It's just we are playing with an idea. So I'm going to take that shape out as well and put it there. I'm going to cut out a few more, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you what we do next. So what I've ended up with is a whole series of holes and all the bits that are cut out. And I'm going to be using both these leftover bits and this shape stencil as a starting point for my design. So, let's put that there. My ordinary pencil, and I'm going to start to kind of look at some of these negative spaces and start playing around with some of the lines. I'm just going to hold that bit down. I will be using this stencil for a few things, which is another reason why it's quite good to make it out of card, because we can use it in a jelly plate as well. I'm going to pop that one. So I'm not going to do all of these. I'm just going to do a few. Just going to lift that up like that. Quite like this shape. So I think I'm going to create it again, turning my stencil around. Let's just pop that one there. Yep, I'm liking that. Quite like this kind of strange shape. I think I'm going to put that. I might overlap some. I might have some that go behind or in front of others. Just putting that one in there. I like this longer shape as well. Let's just put that one in. So while you're doing this, you could be thinking about what colours you want to use and whether you're going to go for sort of warm colours or cool colours, or whether you're going to have just one colour and then lots of different sort of tones, because that can look really effective as well. Let's just put that one there. Let's put this little one here. So I'm doing these fairly randomly, although I am kind of looking at the balance and seeing what might work and what would look interesting. So I'm going to just pop that one up there in the corner. Like that. Liking that. So I've got some space down here. Might put this sort of segment. I do like that idea of a circle or part of the segment, and then I might just pick that one out as well. That's like that one up there. Let's put in another segment. Might do this overlapping. So some are going to be crossing over and some are going to be on their own. Let's pop that in there as well. Okay, so that's that side. I'm now going to take these shapes and just have a look at them and see if there's any that I want to use. I might just stick these down, or I might use them on my gel plate a little bit later, but I'm just sort of having a look at some of those, and it just gives you a different way of looking, even though it's the same shape. You know, with this one we were just looking at the negatives, and these are the positive shapes, but it just makes us see things in a different way, and it's something I found really interesting. So I might sort of play around with those and see what I do with those a little bit later. But I'm going to move those for the moment because we're going to focus on this. Now I'm going to create a frame around my piece. I'm going to use a ruler, or you could do it freehand if you want. I've got a bit of a bump on that. It's probably a bit of glue. I haven't cleaned my ruler. Oh, how shocking is that? Right, that's that there. So it's a very rough border. It's about 1 centimetre all the way around. I just wanted to keep it in the frame. Okay, now I'm going to be using acrylic paint, and I'm going to be using yellows and orange with little hints of black, grey and white. So I put my paint onto my palette, my paper plate. It's acrylic paint. I've used Pebeo and I've used Crawford and Black. What's that one? Oh, that's a Pebeo one as well. But you can use whichever you have, and you can use whatever colours you want as well. And you're going to need 2 types of brushes, one with a sort of flat end and one with a round end, just to keep you going. And then I have a rag, just a cotton rag. I'm not using any water. So I'm going straight in, and I'm going to start with this sort of golden yellow. This is a cadmium hue, which I really do like. And I'm going to start off in this shape here. Now, if I am using yellow in any of my art, I will almost certainly use it first, because yellow is a very, very pure colour, and it will get corrupted very easily. So if there's just a tiny hint of another colour on your brush, it will show up. And for this particular shape, I do want it to be pure golden yellow. Now, when you put acrylic down dry, so I'm not using any water at all, you can blend the paint so that you can hardly see any brush strokes, which is what I want for this particular effect. Acrylic is very versatile, and you can get lots of texture and that sort of stuff in it as well, but for this particular one, I just want to create a flat colour. I am going to be putting some stuff on top of it when it's dry, and it will dry quickly because there is no water. So just going over each bit, trying to kind of keep within the confines of the line, like that. Doesn't matter if it goes over a little bit. That's it, like that. Just bringing those little corners in. If you need to get the tiny brush in to get those, you can do that. I use a whole variety of different brushes. I find brushes are very personal, so although I can recommend what I use, it might not work for you. You have to try things out for yourself and see what works. So I've put that one in, and I'm going to see where else I want this same colour. So same brush, same colour, and I'm going to do this shape here. So it's going to get that one in. Just sort of put that in like that, and I'm going to shade the whole of that shape in the same as I did with the other one, and then I will going to do that shape as well. So I've completed that. This will dry really quickly. Just finishing off that little bit there. Right, I am now going to add some white. So this is the same yellow that I've just been using. I'm going to add white to create that sort of creamy colour. And then I'm going to go into this space here. So the colour is quite subtle. Certainly quite subtle for me. I kind of tend to go for the neons. But you know, sometimes just doing something a little bit more subdued is a good thing. And who knows, I might just put a splash of neon in the middle at the end. Let's do that. So if you haven't joined the Facebook group and that's something that you think you might like, then the link is in the description. I've had quite a few people say to me that they don't really like Facebook, or they don't use it that much, but they've found the Friday Art and Doodle Club Facebook group really supportive, which it is. It's very, very friendly and very supportive, which has been lovely. I'm just doing that little bit there. The edge, like that. Just link that one in there. So that's that little, that's quite subtle. Right, I'm going to brush into the rag. I'm still not using water, and I am now going to go into my neon, but I'm not going to use it raw. I'm going to add some of this lovely cadmium yellow. When you use acrylic paint without water, obviously it's very sticky, and you do have to use it quite quickly. I'm just going to put that. Now that's quite subtly different to the first one, with just that kind of hint of the neon on that edge. Let's do that bit there. And obviously with acrylic, once it's dry, you can go over it if you don't like what you've done, or you want to change your mind with the colours. Just add a little bit more neon with that one. And what I'm going to do, just going to turn my book around a little bit. And we're going to do this bit around here. Again, just being quite careful on the edges. And don't worry if you make a mistake, because you're human and we make mistakes. There we go. Just to turn that right the way around to make sure you can see that. You do have to be comfortable when you're drawing and painting. I do that with my students, especially my older students, my A-level students. So these are young people in their late teens, early 20s. They would get really into their work, and so I'd have to tell them to stop and have a bit of a break. And we would do a few sort of gentle exercises, stretching, and some hand and finger exercises as well. Very important that we look after our bodies. There we go. That little bit there as well. So they are my yellows and orange for that part. Just going to clean my brush, and we're going to go into the silver grey. So we're going to go in with my silver grey. I'm using it as a pure colour. I'm not mixing anything with it at the moment. Just going to go on that one, and it just gives it a bit of a shine, this particular silver grey. But you can mix metallic paint with other colours and give them a bit of a shimmer, which is what I'm going to do in a moment with the yellow. Show you what happens, but I just want to have this one as silver. You have to put the metallics on a little bit thicker, sort of smooth that out like that for that one. So I'm going to take my grey and I'm going to pick up a bit of the yellow to create this sort of creamy colour, and it will have a bit of a shimmer to it. And that's what I'm going to do in this. Make sure that I can angle that properly. I'll put it here. So it's quite a subtle, like sort of gold really. But sometimes when we use gold acrylic paint, I find it a bit too brassy. And it's not quite, well, sometimes it's what I want, but it's not what I want for this piece. I just want to have a bit of a light shimmer. But yeah, if you haven't got metallics, then you use whatever you have. These techniques are exactly that. All of my tutorials are based on the lessons that I've taught over the years in my art classes, and the whole point is for you to learn techniques that you can then do your own thing. I'm just going to do that bit there. Just get that edge in. Again, the paint is quite sticky because there's no water. Don't worry about going over the edges a bit, because we are going to do some outlines. Just going to bring that through like that. And I'm going to do silver up in this corner here. These are dry now. They don't take long to dry. Let's put that bit in there. You can see you do need to use the paint a little bit thicker than with the other colours. So each pigment, each colour of paint will feel different, and it's only through practice that you get to understand the feel of the paint. And I think for many beginners, or beginners in using acrylic, for example, it takes a while to understand and learn how each pigment reacts. And it's quite subtle, but it's definitely there. Let's just put that bit in like that. Oh, I'm now going to do this little one here, and I'm going to pick up the fluorescent there, and I'm going to add a tiny bit of black. You really only need to use the tiniest bit of black for it to have an effect, as you can see. And again, it's quite subtle colour like that. I'm still using my flat brush. You could use a round brush for these smaller pieces. Let's just put that one in there. And I'm going to use that same colour in this bit as well. Like that. Oh, I just haven't talked about the weather. Well, the weather in the UK has been mixed. It's been mixed. We've had some absolutely gorgeous days. Beautiful blue sky and lovely sunshine. But we've also had a lot of rain. And where I live by the sea, we can get very, very windy. Oh, that, can you see that there? I've just got a little bit too much black on that one, so I'm just going to. Oh, it's because I wasn't concentrating. I was thinking about the weather. Let's just put that there. So thank you for all your lovely comments. I enjoy reading them. I read every single one. If you've got any questions, you can pop them in there. If you've got a comment about the weather, you can put that in as well. It's really nice. It's so lovely, this community, because we are all over the world. It's a lovely thing. Right, this one's got a little bit messy, but that's okay. I'm going to leave it to dry, and I'll go over the top of it. Again, we can't create art unless we accept that we're going to make a mistake. And I'm not very happy about that one, but it's okay. It's okay. So the next one I'm going to do, I'm going to pick up this grey again, silver, mix it with a little bit of black. So it will be sort of more of a pewter, and I'm going to do this space here like this. So we're going to end up with colouring in, using my acrylic paint, all of the shapes, and then I will show you what we do next. Now, usually when I create a piece, I will do the background first, but in this piece I deliberately didn't, because I wanted to see the shapes before I started to think about the background, because this is an evolving design. I wasn't really sure what it was going to look like, and what I want to do now is to put some shapes in the background, but they're going to be bigger. So I'm just going to do this freehand, and I'm going to just take some of the ideas of the shapes that I've already done, but they're going to be in the background, and I'm going to be putting different colours onto these shapes. Just looking at the areas and thinking what could look good. Just trying some ideas. Again, this is my sketchbook, and my sketchbook is for trying out ideas. And some of the ideas I will take and develop further into canvases, and some I will use as other designs for smaller pieces, depending on what I want to do. So I've just put in some background there, and now I'm going to put in some colour in the background, and I'm going to be using the same colours. So I'm going to start off in this segment here, and I'm going to go straight in with the neon, adding the neon with a bit of white like that, and that's going to go here. Now, during while I was thinking about what I was going to do for this week, it was some really interesting conversations actually about what people like, and with the classes that I run near to where I live, I've sort of been telling them about the YouTube channel, and they've been offering suggestions as well. So that's good. And one of the issues that come up a lot with abstract art is knowing where to begin. And that's why I thought, well, we start off with just some simple shapes. And when we're playing with an idea, our art doesn't have to have some kind of deep, meaningful sort of essence to it. It really doesn't, because we're just playing. The spiritual, I guess, side of things can come a bit later. And a lot of my larger canvases, yeah, there is a narrative, and it's usually joyful. It's my work is celebratory, and that comes after I've done a lot of playing, a lot of trying things out, and going back through my earlier work as well, which is one of the things that we were talking about in my art class. So they were saying, you know, what about all the things that go wrong? You know, I'm just going to throw them away. And I'm thinking, no, don't throw them away. Don't do that. Keep your work. Think about why you think it wasn't successful. Think about what you would do differently. This is how we learn. this is how we grow. And what you might think is a mistake this week, you might look back on in 6 months' time and actually quite like it. Or you might look back on it and go, no, still rubbish. Still didn't like that. But it's something that you've learnt. And we develop our practice through play and experimentation. Just pop that one in there. So I'm just filling in this bit here. Again, the paint is very dry, so it is sticky. But I'm going to be doing some borders and things like that. So I'm going to do that one. I'm going to pick up this sort of neon mixed with white in some other spaces as well. And then I'm going to introduce a completely different colour. So now continuing with my backgrounds. Now this one is using the cadmium yellow with a bit of black. I'm just going to pop that on this one. So these colours are going to be quite similar. That one has a slight shimmer to it. You might not be able to see that very clearly. But I think I like the subtlety of these colours. It's working quite well. And remember, when we get sort of halfway through, everything just looks a bit messy. And that is when lots of people give up. And what I say to my students and what I say to you is embrace the messy bit and just acknowledge that that's where you are. So when things are just looking like a right old state, you can say, oh yeah, I'm at the messy stage. And then you can work through it. Because every single piece, almost without exception, I think, goes through a messy stage. And I think I am very close to coming to the messy stage where, yeah, it just all looks a little bit confusing and nothing is really cohering and it's just like, what? But that's okay. Trust the process. I'm just shading in this like that. Just gonna get a rag. Just need to have a little bit more paint on that. That's better. So this becomes this sort of yellow ochre colour, which is quite subtle. It's not my favourite colour, but I do use it because it just adds a bit of interest. I mean, it doesn't at the moment because we're at the messy stage. Let's put that in like that. There we go. So have you guessed what the other colour is going to be that I'm going to use? I think some of you might guess. And no, it's not neon pink. I'm not going down the neon pink route today. I know that's quite unusual for me. Let's put that in there. So I'm going to go over that again once it's dry because I'm not very happy with that because we're at the messy stage. So the colour that I am going to introduce is a turquoise blue. So if we go back to our colour wheel, you can see that blue is the complementary colour of orange. And so I know there's going to be a bit of a clash, but that ultimately it's going to work. So this is turquoise blue, pure colour. I'm not going to add anything else. And this is going to be, can you see that contrast between the turquoise and the orange and the yellow? Bit of a clash. I like it. Complementary colours are really interesting. I have done a tutorial on using complementary colours. You might like to check that one out afterwards. But having an understanding of colour theory is really important as an artist and designer, even if you then completely ignore it and do your own thing. But you do, I think, you do need to have an understanding of how colours work and what makes something kind of pop out. So I'm just going to be using my soft brush with this paint. Now I can feel the difference with this pigment, this turquoise, to the yellow. Feels different, even though it's the same brand, the same make. There's a different feel to it. So I'm going to do my turquoise there and there and there, and then I'm going to do a different colour. Oops, there's a mistake. A different colour down that bit there. So I'm on to the last bit of the background. You can see where I made that little mistake. I've just turned it into just a little blue blob. And I'm now going to do this last section, and it's going to be violet. This violet colour again. I'm going to be using the paint as it is. I'll just get a piece over the top here, and I'm just going to put this in. Now when we're using acrylic paints, you will find that when you do your first layer, it might be a bit patchy, and that's normal, and you just wait for it to dry and then you do a second coat. A bit like when you're painting and decorating a door or something like that. The first coat always just looks a little bit scrappy, doesn't it? Just put that one in like that. And if you're new to using acrylic paints, then this sort of exercise is so good. It's so good to just sort of practice trying to get your brush strokes even, spreading the paint evenly, using different brushes, seeing how they feel. I'm just going to pull that round like that, pressing down. Get that edge. I will turn the page around in a moment. Let's just do this edge here. This is going to be my, just at the edge of it, the border. So it doesn't matter if it goes over it a little bit. Just move that around that way. I'm still using my flat brush for this bit, then I'm going to go in with my little pointed brush to get some of those corners, because it's much more tricky with a flat brush to get those edges. Let's fill that bit in there. Again, you can see as this is drying, it's drying a little bit patchy, which is what I would expect. You don't see it so much with the yellows. You definitely see it with blues. So you can see there's some patchy bits on the turquoise. So I will go over that again. and I may end up doing 3 coats, depends on what it looks like. And again, it just sort of adds to that messy look, which can be really frustrating when you think, no, this is just all going horribly wrong. But it isn't. It's fine. Now we're just going to put that little bit in there. So I am actually doing this quite quickly, because otherwise you're just going to get really bored. to see me getting lost in my own little world when I'm painting. I just want you to get the idea of using these shapes to create a really interesting abstract design. So I am going to go around those edges a little bit more carefully with my thinner brush, and then we're going to come back for the final stage. So the next step, I'm going to bring this all together because it's still pretty messy. And this is where I'm going to use my acrylic markers. You could use Sharpie pens, but the acrylic pens, they have a more intense ink to them. And we're going to start off using the black one. Now you could use a Sharpie for this, it would work just as well. And we're going to go round. Oh, I can see it. That's not a good start, is it? That one's just about to run out. Let me just pick up another one, just a moment. This one's a bit fatter than I would normally use, but you'll get the idea. Like this. I'm going to go around the edges of the shapes. The acrylic paint needs to be dry. I'm just going to go around all of the edges, and then we're going to do a little bit of mark making to bring everything together. Let's just put that. I was going to have these lines a bit thinner, but this is okay. This is going to work. Put that there. Like that. I'm going to do the whole thing. So I've done all my outlines, and I've got my thinner marker, and what I'm going to do now is a few bits of mark making on some of the shapes. Mark making is a very effective way to add interest, to add texture, and you can do all sorts of things. You can do dots like that. That works quite well. You could do circles. Like this. Just have some fun with it, really. But you can see that it's kind of adding this little bit of textured interest. You don't have to do for all of them. Some you could do some stripes like this, like that. So some could be a little bit more uniform. Let's do perhaps some curved stripes on this one. Make it look a little bit like a cone, maybe. Something like that. And with this one, could do some wiggly lines. But have fun with it. This, I can't stress this enough, actually. So this little dot was the mistake, and that one was as well, where a bit of blue paint got dropped because I was being a bit careless. So I'm just turning that into part of the design. Bring that around there. And then we've got, I'm just going to lean on this bit here. You could do some contours, so you just follow the existing line and go all the way around like that. That could be really effective. And you could do other sort of shapes within your blocks of colour and see what that looks like. That. There we go. Putting these ideas in. I'm quite liking how this is coming together. Now, I will do a bit more of the black, but I want to pick up the white. So, just going to do some finishing off pieces now using a white acrylic. And again, I'm just going to be putting some marks, just using the white pen. Be really quite effective, sort of breaking up some of the larger shapes across like that. Quite like playing with putting white markers and black markers over solid sections, because you can just get some really interesting effects. Again, you sort of build up your tone. I'm going to put some dots in here as well. Like that. I'm just going to take the thinner white and go over some of the darker lines. Yeah, don't be afraid to break up some of the lines. Put some little sort of like scribbly bits on. See what happens. Quite liking that. Like that. I just had to give my white pen a bit of a shake. I just wanted a few scribbly bits. Breaking up the background. Going over the top some of the pieces that I've already done, as we're kind of bringing this together. Like, this is the fun bit, actually. Well, no, it's all quite fun. Just a bit in that middle bit as well. You can step back and have a look and see whether you think, yeah, perhaps break up that bit a little bit more, or perhaps even go in with a marker and do a few more little pieces where you think that that might be fun. That might work. Yeah, I do like dots. Dots are fun. Put in those. And if you think that that's too much, then you can knock that back with, again, your white marker. And then the last bit I'm going to do is with a fine liner. I'm just going to break up some of these other spaces. Just a bit of a that. See the different sorts of effects. A different way of using the pen. And I think I'm done. You can see all the little details of the marks as it all comes together. I really hope you enjoyed creating your own piece of abstract art, and maybe you've learnt something new and that you're going to try out more ideas that you've had to create your own original piece of abstract art. Thank you so much for watching, and if you want to check out some of my other tutorials, you might want to look at this one and this one. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.